Hi, I'm Arthur, and you're listening to Representative Deb Haaland from New Mexico on Two Broads Talking Politics.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics. Joining me today is my co-host, Sophie. Hey, Sophie.
Hey, Kelly.
And we are thrilled to be joined today by Representative Deb Haaland, who is a congresswoman in the New Mexico 1st Congressional District. Hello, Representative Haaland.
Hi, how are you? How are you both doing?
Great. So it is exciting to have you back on. We talked to you back in 2018 before the election. And it is wonderful to have you back on the podcast. So we're going to talk some today about the Biden campaign in these final 16 days until the end of the election season. I wonder if we could start by talking some about the dueling town halls that happened the other night, and what you saw coming out of Joe Biden's town hall, the kinds of things that you think are exciting the country right now about his campaign with Kamala Harris.
Right. Thank you so much for starting out with that question. And what I first want to say is Joe Biden is the president that America needs. I mean, look, after 4 years of failed leadership under President Trump, we need to build back our country better than ever. And a Biden-Harris administration is one that will work for all Americans and stand up for all of us and against the horrible, horrible policies that this president has essentially inflicted on our country over the last 4 years. So Thursday, yes, there was a stark difference. We saw a leader in Joe Biden, and we saw a liar. President Trump continues to lie to Americans, over 20,000 lies and counting. I thought Joe Biden gave extremely thoughtful answers, to questions about COVID-19, about taxes, about racial equity, climate change. And I felt like he was eager to get into the weeds, right? To talk in depth about his policies, his proposals to build our country back better, right? He wants to reward work, not wealth. He wants to make sure that infrastructure is a top policy consideration because we know we need infrastructure. We need to transition to a renewable energy economy. And he knew that there were still people with questions. He stayed after the town hall was over and continued talking to voters. I think that speaks volumes about Joe Biden and his ability to connect with people.
I thought that it was interesting that the Trump campaign tried to paint Joe Biden as like Mr. Rogers, as if that was a bad thing, because I thought that was kind of the quality that everybody was looking for right now in this crazy upside down world. Can we talk a little bit about sort of like the difference in sort of demeanor between the two? It seemed to me going back and forth between them that you'd go to Trump's town hall and at least I would get like anxious and like kind of like my blood pressure would go up, I could feel it. And then I would go back to Joe Biden's town hall and it was like soothing. It was relaxing in the same way that watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with my 4-year-old is relaxing. I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about just sort of the stark contrast we saw in their demeanors.
Sure. Well, I have a 26-year-old daughter, and, we watched Mr. Rogers just about every single day when she was young. And if there was ever a time that our country needed Mr. Rogers, it's now. It is absolutely now. Inclusive, kind, gentle, loving, intelligent. That's the man. That's the man we need, right? And I agreed. I actually we had taped, we recorded the Trump town hall and tried to watch that after the Biden, and I couldn't. I watched it for 15 minutes and I couldn't watch it anymore. Yes, he's loud, he's brash, he's a braggart. He thinks that he is God's gift to the world, and that is so far from the truth. I really want a president who has substance, who has empathy and compassion. And I just, I stayed on long enough for the president to refuse to denounce QAnon or, what they stand for, which is these far out ideas, fantastical ideas about what Democrats are and who we are. And yes, he's just, he doesn't ever want to be wrong. So he just pushes the lies on people. And that's what he does. And it's high stress. You're absolutely right.
I wanted to ask you, in the primary, we're one of the co-chairs of Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Sophy and I are huge Elizabeth Warren fans. And I think a lot of the people listening to this podcast are as well. And so what is the sort of argument, the progressive argument for electing this Biden-Harris ticket? I mean, we all know how important it is. We're going to go out and vote, but what about this campaign and these policies really excites you?
Right. Well, I was on the DNC 2020 platform drafting committee, and this is a platform that Democrats would get behind in 2020, including Joe Biden. And Joe Biden is committed to fighting climate change. One of the policies that I love and I'm crazy about is our 30 by 30 resolution to save nature. It's to conserve 30% of our land and waters by 2030. That is working with scientists. That is the measure that scientists gave us to say we can avoid this terrible tipping point that we hear about for climate change if we adopt this resolution, this policy, this priority. And Joe Biden has adopted that. I think his commitment to fighting climate change, his commitment to renewable energy, and to making sure that we have good paying, livable wage jobs with benefits for folks who join this energy sector. It's really exciting. And I think that Joe Biden is ready to move forward with that. I also am very honored to serve on Vice President Biden's Climate Engagement Advisory Council. And there we meet once a week. We talk about how we address these issues. We have roundtables with various sectors of the environmental movement, if you will, to talk about these issues, including we had a tribal roundtable as well and brought tribal leaders to the table to talk about the environment and climate change. And I'm just excited that Joe Biden, he is someone who will listen, and he knows how important it is that we address climate change, and he's all in.
I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit sort of about the economic factor in his climate change plan. You mentioned the plan to create a lot of new good paying union jobs. And I think that that's something really smart that the Biden campaign has been emphasizing about their climate plan. The existential problem of climate change is something that's very scary. But I know in the Midwest, a lot of people want to know what the economic consequences or pros of the plan would be. And they've really focused on sort of the economic advantages that this plan creates. Can we talk a little bit about sort of how you see the climate plan helping the economy as well?
Absolutely. Yes. So, look, we can invest in renewable energy jobs and send America back to work. It's a shame that this current administration, squandered our economy, the economy that President Obama and Vice President Biden had built over 8 years. And we remember what was happening when President Obama first came into office in 2009. Moving toward renewable energy is a way for us to really get some of that back. I come from a state with over 300 days of sun per year. That's New Mexico. In fact, the sun is shining right now, almost every single day. We've got plenty of wind as well. The sun and the wind, lots of it to go around. And we need to harness all that energy and put it to work. I know under a Biden administration, we can increase good paying jobs for all Americans by pushing our renewable energy infrastructure forward. President Joe Biden will invest $2 trillion to build more resilient infrastructure across our country to make sure America owns the clean energy industries of the future. New roads, bridges, ports, retrofitted buildings, electric, 500,000 electric car charging stations. We need to transition a path to carbon pollution-free power by 2035. So we don't have any time to waste. And that's why we need to make sure we're electing Joe Biden as our next president. And I'll be ready to help any way I can as a legislator in the U.S. House. I'll be ready to help pass the legislation that we need to fight climate change and get our country back on track.
When you started in the House in 2018, or 2019, I suppose, early in 2019, you came in with a wave of freshman legislators that really started to reflect what America looks like in a way that hadn't before. More women, more people of color. What we have right now in the Trump administration is an administration that doesn't look anything like what America looks like. And Biden has promised that he will have his cabinet much more diverse. And we see that already in his selection of Kamala Harris for vice president. His whole campaign is so much more diverse, more inclusive. Can you talk a little bit about that? You mentioned serving on this climate engagement committee and, the kinds of voices that they're bringing in, that they're listening to, and what that means going forward for this country.
My slogan when I ran in 2018 was Congress has never heard a voice like mine. So that's not my slogan this year because I'm there. But when I stop to think about what this pandemic has also done to our country, and of course, we have not had the leadership to get us past this terrible, terrible health crisis. But what it's done is it's highlighted the disparities in our communities, and communities of color are the hardest hit. Native American communities are the hardest hit. Native American communities don't have the infrastructure. There are some Indian tribes still using dial-up for their governmental systems. They don't have broadband internet service. I mean, our voices are so important. It's, the voices of everyday people, which I consider myself, right? Because I don't come from a political family. I don't come from a political dynasty. My parents didn't give me millions of dollars to get my start. Because they couldn't even afford to send me to college. I had to get loans and find Pell Grants for that. So I am willing to bet that there are, millions of more families just like mine than there are like Donald Trump. So it's important that we have a voice because we know what it's like to struggle. And those are the folks that we need to get out and help. I am so proud of our vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, a woman of color, somebody who's, her parents are immigrants. She worked her way up. Her parents gave her the support, the family support, the love and support she needed to achieve her goals. And that's what we want to do with every single person. Every person should have the support they need to get the education they want. And that's why we need the best public schools. And so I feel very strongly that Joe Biden's cabinet will be diverse. He's going to have diverse folks in his administration so that it can be representative of our country.
So we're almost there. We're getting close. This election seems like it has lasted 1,000,000 years, but we've really only got another 3 weeks until
2 weeks.
2 weeks, less than 3 weeks. Yeah, you're right. Until this is happening. So people are already voting. I already voted in September, actually. So what do you think Democrats need to be doing right now in these last few weeks, in the last sort of home stretch, to be making sure that Joe Biden wins and that Democrats win up and down the ballot?
Yeah, so it's a challenge, right? Because we're in the middle of a pandemic and around the country, cases are spiking all over the place. So we have to be careful. I just got off of a Zoom with a group of women because we couldn't have a women's march. And so we're doing everything online. I can't tell you, every single day I'm doing phone bank kickoffs and election, campaign event kickoffs and supporting my colleagues all over the country in the House, remotely. So I'm just going to, every single day, I'm going to do every single thing I can to encourage people to get out and vote. We need to get the word out. We need to make sure that people know they need to make a plan to vote. Now, I want to say right now that there are people in around the country, we've seen it on TV, folks standing in line for 11 hours to vote. They are the heroes of the 2020 election year. People who would stand in line for that long. At the same time, it is shameful that it's 2020 and we still have people who are trying to put obstacles in front of voters to keep them from voting. So I want to say that we all need to persevere. Some folks on my team, they talked about voter care, driving around to polling locations where folks are standing in line and handing out masks if they need to, bottles of water, whatever it takes to help people, to support people to stay in line and vote. That's what we'll be doing. And we'll just be encouraging everyone, if you ordered a mail-in ballot, make sure that it gets in the post office box. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It's all about turnout right now. In every single district across the country, whether it's a congressional district, a state house, or a state senate district, or anyone who's running, we should all be working in tandem to move our voters to cast their ballots for Democrats up and down the ballot.
I filled out my ballot this morning with my kids. They're on the couch with me and we were talking through it. And I live in a very blue area. So the Democratic state rep and state senator are running unopposed. And my kids are like, why are you bothering to even fill it in? What difference does it make? And I said, no, it's important. We vote all the way down the ballot, even if they're unopposed every time. So
Absolutely. Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to make sure we talk about today?
I feel like we pretty much covered it all. There are just so many things right now on the ballot. Yes, those candidates who you talked about who were running unopposed, but still need votes counted. But women's equal pay is on the ballot, or climate change is on the ballot. A robust infrastructure package for people suffering because they can't access internet or their kids aren't able to, see their teachers or their schoolmates during this terrible pandemic. Our democracy is on the ballot too. So I'm not kidding when I say this is the most important election of our lifetime, and just encourage every single person to vote this time around. And I should say, vote for Joe Biden.
Yes. Or as my 6-year-old would say, vote for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden too. So thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited about this election, and it was great to have a chance to speak with you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics, part of the Dimcast Podcast Network. Our theme song is called Are You Listening off of the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Immunuri, and we're using it with permission of the band. Our logo and other original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and was created for use by this podcast. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or on Twitter or Facebook at twobroadstalk. You can find all of our episodes at twobroadstalkingpolitics.com or anywhere podcasts are found.